Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Johnson, and I am the broker officer of Realty Executives. And I am super excited. We are continuing our April Financial Literacy Month, and I have a treat for you today. I have Mr. Jared McIntosh. He is a powerhouse in the financial world, and I am just ready to go. I'm going to take some great notes, and you're going to be blessed with this gentleman. So without further ado, Jared, I'm going to turn it over to you. Welcome, Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Michael. Glad to be here. Glad to be able to provide some value to everyone that's going to be tuning in. Again, we want to kick things off and give everybody a little bit of knowledge on some financial security. So what we're going to do is we're going to start things out with a little bit of a slideshow we got put together. So yeah, my name is Jared McIntosh. I'm a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual, and what we're going to do is we want to do some overarching ideas, high-level perspective on financial planning, importance of it, retirement, wealth creation, or accumulation, and distribution, and a little bit of permanent life insurance talk. So without further ado, so with everyone in the crowd, when we talk about financial security, what does that mean to you? Well, do you feel that you're financially secure? And if you're feeling like you're not alone. In fact, 7 out of 10 people say that their financial planning needs improvement. And even of those 7 people that say it, about 22% say that they're confident in what they're doing, what their financial practices today is going to help them build and understand what their financial security is going to look like later on. And 32% of people have a financial advisor. And the numbers seem a little bleak, but again, there's an opportunity to start and to grow. Now, financial planning, it's rooted in different philosophies. And when it's rooted in different philosophies, there can be an opportunity to use one stencil for everybody, where in fact, financial planning is not a one-size-fits-all scheme, right? Everything is unique to the individual. Your goals are unique to you, or your plans need to reflect as such. What we do with financial planning is we understand what your goals are, what you want to reach, what you want to achieve. And similar to the airplane that you see on the screen, it's a flight path that's generated. And that flight path is used as a guide to where we want to get to a destination. And along the way, there are going to be some challenges or some things that might change that. But ultimately, the plan is for you. And when we talk about your financial plan evolving, when financial plans begin, they can be in a certain point in an individual's life where there's a certain circumstance or a certain priority that they have that's top of mind. Now, our relationships that we have with with clients is if things are going to change. When the plans begin early in someone's life or career, life stages will occur where people get married, people buy homes, people have children, people enter the years of retirement, people want to provide a legacy. Those circumstances and priorities will change when we have to make modifications to a financial plan. Now, some people will begin and they'll think, well, what life changes do you have that could potentially impact your financial plan? Saving for college for your kids. Now, in creating a financial plan, we coach our clients to understanding in 3 basic phases or 3 strategies. One strategy is we protect against risk management. 2 is we talk about wealth accumulation. So we save and invest for your future goals. And the 3rd stage is we preserve what you work so hard to achieve and make it last as long as we possibly can. So we talk about our first strategy, risk management. The risk management is protecting your ability to reach the goals against the things that are outside of your control. Being too sick or too injured to work, getting sick, dying too soon. But managing your risk is the most important aspect to financial planning. Why is that? One of the pieces is setting up an emergency fund. We always look to keep up to 6 months of living expenses that you have immediate access to, where you want to keep it a checking account, savings account, whatever the case may be. But it's liquid, it's tangible, you can get access to it really fast. And we say up to 6 months because that creates a buffer for you in case something were to happen. So 2 is to pay down debt when we have an action plan. We look at these action plans and we say, okay, these are the payoff deadlines, whether it be a credit card, whether it be a short-term piece of debt, whether it be student loans. There's all of this debt that's understood, okay, here's a payoff date. And then if we want to accelerate that, that's fine. But we're going to create certain deadlines to pay these things off. We're going to develop a realistic budget designed around, okay, if we want to save as much of the interest possible that can be paid out, we'll set a budget to what really fits to what the lifestyle means. And we only look to see what the lifestyle is able to provide from a cash-only lifestyle. So we're not going to be using this debt to enhance what the lifestyle currently looks like. As far as when you want to book a family vacation, we put it all on the credit card. Well, one idea is to pay the whole credit card off. But some people, for some, that's living outside the means if we're going above and beyond what the cash that we have available to us is for. And then we exceed the minimum payments. Credit cards are designed where they'll give you a small percentage where you pay it off each month, or you want to exceed that so we can tap into what the principal is owed so we can start knocking down what that debt looks like. Now for the crowd, what is it that you consider to be your most important asset? It's you. You are your most invaluable asset. Your ability to make an income is your most valuable asset. If someone had a check if someone had an unlimited amount of resources, they wouldn't have to work. But a lot of the individuals that you and I both know, to facilitate our lifestyle, we need to earn that income every year. We need to make sure that there's some protection around that income. 1 in 4 will be disabled for 3 months throughout their career between now and their retirement ages, or the time that they decide not to work anymore. And if someone were unable to lose that income, if that income were to go away, what would happen? What would happen to your lifestyle? So there are 3 basic threats to your long-term ability to earn income. 1 is being too sick or hurt to work, whether it would be illness or injury. 2 is long-term care. And long-term care is the stage when you get into your elderly or your latter years, where you're unable to do certain daily activities of daily living. If you're unable to do 2 of those, then that's when a lifestyle is again, has to be adjusted and not favorably. And then 2 is an untimely passing of a family member or yourself. When we talk about disability, so most people think of like something catastrophic where something major happens to you, whether it be a heart attack, cancer, back problems, pregnancy complications. Those are major ones. And we totally understand that. But there are other items that can lead to someone going out on claim. Most people do have their disability insurance through their employer. There's usually a cap tied to it. Most employers will do anywhere from 50 to 66% of what their actual income is. And that income is typically taxable. So if we ran through the net numbers in the paycheck that you actually receive each month, it can get down to about 40 to 50% of what you normally bring in every month. And so if you sat back and thought for a second that you bring in X amount of dollars per month, That's your lifestyle is built around that. Slash that in half. What happens to your home, your car, cell phone, Netflix, or any other streaming service? What happens there? We insure cars, homes, and cell phones. Why not our income? Long-term care. How many of you are providing the care to a loved one or past, or have in the past? What does that feel like? You have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've had family members that have done that as well. But risk management also includes the consideration of long-term care. Long-term care is for people with chronic illnesses, disabling conditions, and cognitive impairment. Long-term care is generally not covered by Medicaid, and it's not covered by Medicare or health insurance plans. What this does provide is an avenue or an ability for someone to get the care that's necessary for a loved one or themselves. And then death. We typically see individuals that we meet, and we'll want to speak to them about what they want to have covered in the event of an untimely passing. It could be something as simple as a mortgage that's paid off, college expenses that are provided to children, whether it be a wedding that's baked in, family members. Do we want to provide a supplemental income stream or a legacy? What type of legacy we want left behind? These are all questions that we want to make sure that's happened in the event of an untimely passing when we talk about risk management. So just a quick recap. Again, the three circumstances, again, you can protect yourself against in a risk management phase are disability, long-term care, and death. So with strategy one, what we do is we build a proverbial fence of protection around an individual or an entity. And then we talk about step two, strategy two. And this is the stuff that everyone talks about, right? This is the fun stuff, right? Because this is when we make the most out of your money by making investment decisions that are right for you. And how you achieve how you invest your money will impact your ability to achieve your goals. So you want to do things in a smart way, in a tax efficient way. Again, to create the most value out of every dollar that you earn. One of the top words that we talk about is college. College is expensive now, on average, and this number is kind of floating around the same. Overall, it's about $22,000 bucks. This information was pulled a few years ago, but it's still floating around this number. But that's expensive, and that's including tuition fees, books, well, not books. That's way more expensive. Tuition fees, room and board. Retirement savings. And this is very common with individuals. So funding retirement is far different today than it was for our parents or grandparents' generations. And what it ultimately comes down to is we're responsible for creating our own paycheck in retirement. These types of accounts we see a lot through work, whether they are Iras, which are individual retirement accounts, 401ks, Roth accounts, like a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. But what this does is we fund our retirement for over 30 plus years, typically. But we want to make sure that we're investing in a way that gives us the greatest chance of success of achieving the goals that we have in place. Now, when we speak on investing, there are certain factors that we need to consider. And a lot of it is centered around what level of comfort of the investor. How much risk are we looking to take? Are we pretty conservative on how our thought process looks? Are we very comfortable with putting all of our money out there in the market and letting it ride? Do we understand the difference between a qualified or a non-qualified asset? Is this something or it's a tax sheltered account, or it's qualified through the IRS and what's provided by us, or is a non-qualified account where it's outside of that? How long the longevity around the account? How will taxes impact what your plan is going to look like? How long do you expecting to have your money last when you start pulling the money out of the funds in a certain retirement period? When we talk about asset allocation, so historically, what we look at is three basic classifications, right? Summarize it up. We have bonds, we have stocks, and we have cash equivalents, right? And each one of these classifications do operate differently in response to the market and activity trends. Whether they are high risk and then low risk. So the process of lowering our risk in an asset allocation through different portfolio classes based on the level of risk that someone is willing to take on. The process of an investment portfolio among these various asset classes is an asset allocation, right? How much of a percentage is going to go into each different class? When you talk about longevity, on how long the money would, or your funds and resources will need to last, or how long it would need to last. And quite honestly, people are living longer and longer and longer. So the amount of savings that people are going to have in their resources will need to align with that. Right? So in the graphic you see, 50%, there's a 50% chance a 65-year-old male is going to be able to live 23 years. We can see also where, on the other side of the coin, where 50% a chance of one person living in a marriage, they'll go beyond age 94. So when we conceptualize how long we're living, it creates a stronger importance to plan appropriately and make sure that the resources we take so long to accumulate will last as long as we have, or as long as we do. So when we talk about accumulating wealth, be sure to understand circumstances, the personal goals, and the tolerance of risk, or tolerance for risk. Design your asset allocation based on your goals and risk, and address the risk posed by your longevity. This is one piece of accumulating your wealth and making sure that it grows for as long as it possibly can on your end. Strategy 3. So strategy 3 is wealth preservation and distribution. And this is a phase where you've worked 30 plus years of your life, and you've earned all these savings, received all this money, you've earned all these resources, and we need to protect and distribute to you in a tax efficient manner what things are going to look like for you in retirement. So when we talk about strategies that are tied to this, right, there's going to be different strategies that are going to be put into place to make sure your money lasts as long as you possibly can through your retirement years. And this is part of it. All right, so we talk about a distribution of assets. So if we look at the bottom of the graphic here, the bottom of the graphic here is your retirement income. That's what you're going to be receiving as your paycheck in your retirement years. Your cash reserve, this is where everything's going to get funneled through. This is like a savings account. So the typical pattern is, I'll describe this in a little bit. The income, annuities, Social Security, and pensions. So these are, we have a graphic that shows like a vet. And when you get in your retirement years, we flip this switch on, and these are checks in the mail. There's very little that can be done to stop them. So a pension or a defined benefit plan is you decide that you're not going to be able to work anymore. You have this defined or this benefit that's going to come from an employer, and they say, okay, I'm retired. You get an automatic check in the mail. That's consistent income. Same with Social Security. We will register that. Or income annuities. We put in and say, okay, this is a consistent check in the mail that's coming in. This will get placed into your cash reserve, into a bank account. Our legacy portion here. And this is where we have a safe bucket of cash, or like permanent life insurance is one of these pieces, where I'll take a step back. when we talk about life insurance does have two basic structures. One is a term life insurance where it's a way to get a high amount of coverage for a small amount of resources, and it's a like renting a home. If we had to put a comparison to it, there's no additional benefits on. This is stripped down. This is all I need. I need X amount of coverage. This is what it'll be. And that's all it is. But when we talk about permanent life insurance and the distribution of assets, there's an underlying factor. So permanent life insurance is like buying a home. We're moving this side onto the balance sheet, where it's generating an accumulated value inside the policy. This isn't going to be a short-term way that we look at this, but over time, there's a value built in the permanent life that grows. And when it reaches a certain amount that you're comfortable with, we're able to use that again as a safe bucket of money that we have direct access to. And they're done properly, there's no tax impact behind it. It's one way to supplement the different channels that we can get in for the retirement bucket, right? So that's one piece of it, and it's outside of the typical cash reserve because it's baked in with the legacy component also. So that's potentially another income stream that can be done for your retirement income. And this is the area here where everyone likes to talk about, right? So we spoke about life insurance already. So deferred annuities, again, something that we contribute in today to create an income stream for later on. Investments, these are like your brokerage accounts, TD Ameritrade, or you can name your provider. But the platform behind it it's a way that you go into the market. You can do this yourself. You buy the stocks, you invest on your own, and you can cash those out, turn those on, turn those off when you want to sell off to create an income stream for yourself. Iras and 401ks. These are qualified plans typically, where people will opt in to like a company plan. They'll contribute each month. These are contributed on a pre-tax basis, meaning that once you decide to say, I'm done working, I'm going to get into my 401k or into my IRA, traditional IRA, that when you start to pull the distribution behind the fund, you're going to be taxed on it as regular income in your retirement years. Roth accounts are a little bit different. So these are done with after-tax dollars. And by participating in a Roth account, like a Roth IRA, by contributing it into it with after-tax dollars, you'll be able to, and done properly, these can be pulled out, or these will grow tax deferred and pulled out of the retirement account tax-free. And then again, with your life insurance. So these 5 components here, based on like a more of a variable way to generate the wealth, again, done properly, can minimize or can provide a supplemental income stream for your retirement income. And combined with the stable cash flow, whether it be Social Security or a defined benefit plan, right? We layer things on top of one another to where you get your retirement income at the end of each month. Lastly, talk about estate planning. All right, estate planning is making sure that it's getting things right to the right people at the right time in the right way. Again, if we high level, we look at 3 basic life stages, right? Age 18, we become an adult. We can enter into some agreements. If we establish a power of attorney. When you get married, you establish a will. If you have kids, you appoint a guardian and plan to leave money or resources to your children, or a charity or an old alma mater, whatever the case may be. Right, but this is a legal document. This is something that we do not do, but we use this as part of a plan to make sure that the transfer of wealth from one party to another is done properly. And then, funding your legacy. we this helps to ensure that people's wishes are honored by having an estate or having something like a living trust. And there's certain criteria that needs to be met. The plan is laid out. So once a person passes, or a person passes, they'll if they have a living trust in place or will, a living trust and will, the people that they want to sign to get the resources will be provided that information, or sorry, provided those resources. If they're given certain properties or certain artifacts, it's up to the plan to make sure that it gets there. And the plan is just as important as the gift of money. So when we talk about, when we overarch and look at the plan, the risk management, wealth accumulation, and the wealth preservation and distribution, those are all three important phases when we talk about creating a financial plan, right? Protecting what you have today and how you get the assets. 2 is how you grow the assets. And 3 is once you get to that point, how is it that you're going to be able to preserve what you have and distribute it in an efficient manner to where it lasts you a long time? Again, three things to keep in mind is when you're looking for an individual or a company that's going to help you design this financial plan for yourself. 1, you want to make sure that you find a trusted partner. 2, look for quality. Companies' longevity and financial strength, they do matter. You need to make sure that they're going to be around when you need them. Are there any questions at all from the crowd?
Hey, Jared. Thank you so much. That was awesome. I do have a question. I was the slide that you presented about how long people will live. If a single person is 50 or they can live to possibly 88 or what have you. For people that kind of start later in life, what type of vehicles would you suggest that would help them to maybe catch up, if you know what I mean? If they didn't start young and, now they're just kind of like, okay, well, I want to get started here. What type of investment vehicles would you say would be good vehicles to use?
For the goal, and first off, like a general recommendation, we'd have to make sure that it's appropriate to what that goal is. Now, if we're going to say that's a retirement component, there are provisions in certain plans, like a 401k, like a Roth, where there are catch-up provisions in it. So if you're over the age of, I think, 55, 50, when like you're contributing to a defined contribution plan, so like a 401k. Normally, like in like a Roth IRA account, they'll say, oh, you can only contribute $6,000 a year. But if you're over a certain age limit, you can get a little bit of a bump of $1,000 extra to where you can contribute a little bit more to catch up. There's one thing that is extremely difficult to fight, and that is time from a bunch of different aspects. Like you mentioned, Michael, it's easier to start when you're young because you're using compounding interest, using less of your own resources. But when we look at a window, like you mentioned, the gentleman that's 55 that wants to retire by the time he's 67, that's a steep hill to climb. Not saying it can't be done, but it's a challenging period. We'd have to think if they're just getting started in their 50s, we have to save for X period to generate an income for another period. Like an example, someone, you said 55, if someone retired when they were 70, that's a savings for 15 years. We have to strategize how to have a sustainable income for the next 15 years. That's just one of the challenges that we have to see. But we want to make sure it's done in a tax efficient manner. There's a lot behind the story. If we're talking about someone's retirement, that they make, if they have a certain earning, it wouldn't be just one tool, right? It'd be more the strategy behind it. I hope that answers your question.
It does, absolutely. And I have one other question before I open it up. I've heard of vehicles like, I think it's called an IPU, maybe. Does that sound familiar? Or
Yeah.
It's an index or life insurance product that is very safe when you invest in it, and you don't lose a lot of money, but you can make some money. You ever heard of that one before?
IUL?
IUL, yes, sir. See, that's why you're the expert.
IUL.
I'm over here asking the question.
IULs, when we talked about life insurance for a little bit, there's we really kept it simplified with, this term versus permanent. And this is the way that we create, and when an insurance provider is on the hook for the contract. One of the pieces that we talk about when we talk about risk, I'm going to take a step back on this. It's managing risk management comes in different phases. When we talk about investments, how much are we comfortable with putting our resource, our hard-earned money, into the market? When we talk about the market, that's just buying stock, whether the stock be Netflix, you put it in a QQQ, or if you put it into an emerging penny stock, or whatever the case is. Again, these aren't recommendations; these are just high-level information. Or in an atmosphere of high interest rates, we look at bonds. Part of it is, again, the risk management piece. That's the asset allocation that we talked about. When we talk about indexed or variable insurance products, that does a little bit of the same. An insurance product is a way for us to leverage an insurance company to pool our risk or hedge our risk as a whole, so we don't have to take on everything and self-insure. That's why we do things like health insurance or basic life insurance. When we talk about indexed or variable insurance policies, we are taking on more of that risk. There are ways that when we talk about variable life insurance products, it can make up the money, make a lot of money. But when we invest into the market, again, we're taking on that risk, not the insurance company. The insurance company will carry a minimal amount of what the coverage will be. Ultimately, we're looking at a benefit that needs to go to our family when we talk about insurance products. But anything indexed or variable, we're taking some of that risk away from the contract that's agreed upon with the insurance company, is that we're taking that risk on, where we're taking a piece of the insurance policy and putting it into a separate account, having that grow. There, again, depending on the individual, that can be an avenue where someone can grow the benefit for their family. Others it might not be the case. So this is part of our process is understanding what people really want. IULs can be a solution, yes, but it's like a hammer and nail. Hammer is a great tool, but a hammer can't be used to screw the screw. So we want to make sure that we have the proper tool for the proper use. We'll keep that at a high level. An IUL can be a solution. Again, that what that does is it's an insurance product where a piece of that is put into a separate account, and that separate account is invested into the market, where the person takes on the risk, and there's a benefit that is provided to the beneficiaries, but it might not be the proper solution. That's when we, individuals like myself, have a conversation to make sure it's the right tool.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Good question.
So now I'm going to open it up to anyone else that have any questions. Remember, the questions that you ask, I'm sure someone else is thinking the same thing. So want to open it up to everyone. Does anyone have any questions for Jared? Anything at all? This is the time to ask. He is the expert. Anything you've been thinking about, please let Jared know. Any questions whatsoever? Okay, if there's no questions, Jared, I'd like you to put your information up on the screen for us so that we could contact you if you are, if anyone has some questions they want to take offline, they can.
I have a question.
I'll put it in the.
Oh, wait a minute, we have Kathleen Grisky's on the line.
Yes, I have a Forster's financial account, and I have asked them, I don't really understand beginning and ending values, and then they have a surrender charge of half my money if I borrow, and I've had it since 2018. It's kind of confusing. Do they normally take?
Okay.
Do they normally take half
For
of your
surrender
money?
charge?
Yes.
Typically, yes. And I say that because it's you said like, oh, sorry, you said that it was in 2018 when you started it.
Yes.
Okay. The surrender charge is what contracts have in place, and to make sure that the contract comes up a full value. And if we took a perspective of a big company, what they're looking to do is it's a way that they're able to get the full value of the contract based on a certain time horizon, being 3 to 4 years.
Even if they're taking they take a portion of my money every month out of my checking account.
Mm-hmm. That's toward
they
the
take
premium?
A portion. Yes, that is the premium.
Okay. So as part of that premium, the value is where the surrender charge would come from, typically. With this being so specific, I'd love to take a close look at this for you, but typically what a surrender charge does, it's a way that we want to ensure that the company and yourself will get into a long-standing agreement with that contract. And in that contract, the surrender charge, you'll probably see it over time. I'd more than happy to help you with this and take a closer look. But that surrender charge typically will phase out over time until X date. And then after X date, you should start seeing things come around. If the surrender charge is only applicable if you cancel the contract.
So if I cancel this, they've been taking, now that's my money they've been taking, they're going to just.
Right, the premium that's involved.
For me taking my money, I could have just taken that amount of money and put it in a savings. Right.
Well, when we talk about the surrender charge, that's only based on the value if you cancel the contract. The money that it's taking out each month is the premium. Right, and so the premium is used to make sure that the contract stays in force. And then if you decide to cancel the contract, that's when the surrender charge comes into place, and it goes after the value. Right, it'll take the value of what's there. The surrender charge is usually a percentage, and you'll get the balance. But as long as the surrender charge, as long as the contract is in force, the surrender charge is a moot point, typically.
So I've had somebody at AAA, because I have a life insurance at AAA, and she looked at it, she said, it's an investment type account. So can I transfer that to another type, like you said, 401k or an IRA?
You say this is an insurance product? If it's an insurance,
Foresters Financial and Insurance, and I'd like to, because of, I'm not fully understanding why they're going to take half my money if I want to borrow. So if I, would it be possible for me to transfer it to another type of investment?
potentially, yes. I would say yes, but it's a matter of how much can we retain. If it's rooted as an insurance product, and you want to go over to an investment, we're talking about two different things, right? So the insurance piece is done with after-tax money. So the money that hits your bank account, that's what they're pulling out. Typically, if we're talking like a 401k or an IRA, that's done with pre-tax money. So before you even get the money in your account, they're taking your contribution, putting it away for you in said account. If you were to, this is where I wouldn't say it gets a little gray, but we'd have to figure out a certain strategy around this. If you were to, again, sever in the contract with Forces or through AAA, and then move to another one, that's saying that I'm going to take my money and then give it away. When you take your money back, that's when an opportunity is created for whether it be a tax situation or, again, like the surrender charge, as you're taking away from one party going to another. What we do is we help strategize, or not to say to get away from that, but to minimize that as much as possible. So one of the things that, again, I'd be more than happy to help you out, Kathleen, with this is we would take a look at the contract and see what the language is behind it and provide you with options, and you would let us know what to do.
Okay, so what would you charge me for that?
Oh, early on, every time we meet with, so when I meet with my clients, and we have a review of what their situation looks like, I don't charge.
Okay.
So Jared, could you, excuse me, Jared, can you put your information on the screen? Because I think this is something worth going into, to where Kathleen can reach out to you and speak to you, because I think this is some great information that you can dig a little bit deeper in too. Kathleen, is that okay with you?
Mm-hmm. Then I'd love to sit in it so I can get a full understanding of what they're doing.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
There's Jared's information. And also, if anybody wants to reach out to me, I have Jared's information as well. So is there anyone else that has any questions right now for Jared? Anyone else? Kathleen, did you get Jared's phone number off the chat?
No, it flashed on too fast. I didn't get it.
Okay. Can you pull up your chat? Do you know how to do that? If not, Kathleen, what I'll do is I would text you Jared's information. I'll text it to you.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, you got it? Awesome. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, anyone else? Any other questions right now that you want to ask? Alex, Lawrence,
hey,
Daryl?
I got a question, Jared. This is Alex. How you doing, Jared? It's been a while, man. I don't know if you remember me from Cerritos.
Yeah, what's going on, Alex?
How you doing, brother? Hey, I got a question. I know
Thanks.
you kind of mentioned the Roth, right? Which is that's the after tax, right? Money.
Right.
I currently have 401k right through my company. I also have, life insurance and all that. Do you recommend me also putting money into an after tax, type of retirement? Because right now my 401k is pre-tax, right? So when the time comes, right, I'm going to get taxed at some point. So, but I've also heard other financial advisors say, like, you should put some money after tax too. to kind of, that way you're not getting taxed on everything once I retire. Is that recommended, or is that just kind of personal, from person to person?
No. Well, it's one of the things that we speak to advisors is there's two. I think one of the big overarching things is we always advocate in minimize the amount of money that has to go to Uncle Sam. Right. I mean, they're going to have their cut, and we get it. Right. But you're going to spend you have all this time where you make all this money, and it's like, look, we work hard for that. We're going to try and have you keep as much as you can within the law. Now we have to understand what the complete picture will look like. I know like you said, you're contributing to a 401k, which is great. Again, what you started is amazing. You're ahead of the game. Yes, a Roth product is good to have as part of your portfolio, but there are limitations to it. There are income limitations to it. I think so you can contribute $6,000 for the year for the individual, but there's a phase out period the more money that you make. I think that starts at $98,000 a year. And after 120, you're not eligible at all as a single. Married, those numbers are adjusted by the same concept, where you'll have full eligibility to get into that $6K a year. And then once that's done, once you reach that threshold, if you make $150,000 a year just for yourself and you're filing a single, then you're not eligible for a Roth product anymore. So you have to go with a different strategy to accumulate that.
Okay.
Excuse me. So the 401k, yes. The Roth, yes. The life insurance, yes. All stuff that you do want to have in your wheelhouse, and it's easily accessible. But now it's making sure that when you get into your retirement years, it's done in a tax efficient manner.
Okay. All right, we'll definitely be talking. I'm gonna give you a call because
For sure.
I got a plan to retire at some point, so I want to be ready.
Don't we all? Yeah, I'll hit you up for sure.
Appreciate your time, Jared.
Thank you, Alex. You got it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex. We appreciate that. Anyone else? We're getting ready to wrap it up. I really, really appreciate Jared. He gave me some golden nuggets. I hope you guys have been taking notes because he did a great job. If you have any questions, make sure that you reach out to him. He put his information in the chat box. And Jared, thank you so much for showing up. This is going to be the first of many. So we look forward to having you on as my guest again. And I just appreciate everything you do. So once again, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Anyone has anything for Jared?
Okay. I have a question. I have public employees retirement system, and they give you an option to have taxes taken out while you're getting it, or wait till the end of the year. But I was wondering, how do you figure out tax on retirement income?
Good question. Very good question. And we want to base it on lifestyle. Since you're in CalPERS, I've got one of those old accounts floating around too. We want to figure out what the lifestyle will look like. If they want to take it out, that's fine. I would advocate for that, for the simplicity behind it. How you would figure it out is, again, I'm not a tax professional. I can always connect you with one that would have more knowledge behind it. But the taxes are, again, it's going to be based on what that baseline income is that you're going to be receiving from CalPERS. If it's easier for, it depends, whatever floats your boat. If it's easier for you to do it once a year, just have it, save it, put it aside. If not, then we'll draw it out monthly. If they're able to take it out, great. If they're giving you 100%, then I would recommend, have a separate account, so you'll split it up. Like you'll have your lifestyle that you're feeding, and then you'll have a separate account that you're going to put this money in and save it for those taxes. And if And if you end up not needing it, great. You gave yourself a bonus or a raise based on the pension. And if you do need it, you've got it. That's one easy strategy, or a pretty simple strategy we can implement. Are you currently receiving the benefit, or are you getting prepared for it?
I'm getting prepared, looking into it, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, one of the things that we do is, or whenever I meet with my client, is I think the best piece is for anyone here is to be given the information that's needed and understand what their situation is. There's been, most recently, I have meetings with clients, and we go through what they feel they're doing the right thing and they're in a great situation. And then when they look to see, when we put together their plan, what they're on target for, it's eye-opening. So whether it be with me or anyone else, I would say take action on something. Just get an understanding of where you are. And I would love the opportunity, but however, have the analysis done. That's the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
The number two important is to take action on things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I hope does that answer your question, Lawrence?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great, Lawrence, give him a call. Talk a little bit more one-on-one. Obviously, he has some great ideas for you. So make sure you get his information. If you don't, just get back to me and I will make sure that you get it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It's 9:57. Thank all of you for coming. We appreciate you. And once again, my thanks to Jared. You did a great job, sir. And we look forward to doing this again. So you guys have a great weekend. And we look forward to talking to you. And thank you so much for coming, and God bless.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time.
Bye-bye.
All right.